Campbell, just great. From a good amount of people, let's go to that, your first amazing slide. 61% of families completed the survey, which I think is like in the 52 range, maybe 52 families, which, it'd be great to have it be 100, but isn't bad. And so of course,
can I have a random question?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I filled out the survey, but then yesterday I was thinking that I don't remember if I filled it out or not. Is there harm of me filling it out again, or is there anywhere I can go to check to see if I filled it out or not?
I don't know, Erica, if there's a way for us to check that, because it's
We kept it anonymous on purpose.
Yeah.
Just fill it out again. It's okay. You're not going to mess up the data that much.
Okay, I'll skip your statistics a little bit.
Good question though, huh? So yeah, the purpose to gauge interest and determine funding needs, which is really helpful for our fundraising conversation we'll have in a minute, and barriers to participation. So dun, 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 you can see here 78% said they'd like to send their student to Camp Campbell, which is a pretty overwhelming number, right? So for us, that really helped with this decision, because at first we really kind of like we're coming from like what the teachers had recommended based on the positive feedback for last year, but then getting like the parent feedback here too I think is really helpful. Please stop me if there's any questions. And then you can see if as far as like which type of outdoor ed would be your top choice between all of the above and Camp Campbell. I think that's like about 75%, right? 34 plus 42. So again, not 100%, but the vast majority seem to be open with Camp Campbell.
Curious about the write-ins. What's the turquoise and purple?
Good question.
That would, oops, sorry, wrong way. Oh no, I have to go all the way around. Sorry. It's just a second. That was, I had to transfer some data over because we updated the survey. So I had to transfer. So those two, it's actually just two answers, and I just didn't have information for that. So I'll get
like a different answer.
No. And right? I couldn't fix the little data bubble. So
I see. I'm looking at the like Excel. It says like this is a response from the draft Google or something like that. Okay. Yeah. What else? So then the funding question. This is really helpful as far as like Bart, your thing about like feeling bad about the fundraising. I feel like once we got this information, it took some of the pressure off as far as like what we want to make our goals for fundraising, because if 84% of families can commit to paying the full amount of $450, which by the way, we're thinking will be more like $385 based on fundraising and PTA contributions for bus and what's the other thing, Erica? And financial aid.
Yeah,
we're thinking like $385 a family, but if 84% is stating they could pay the $450, we're confident we'll be able to, fundraise more easily. And, of course, from the beginning, financial aid won't be a reason anybody can't go, or financial ability. Everybody would be able to go regardless of ability to pay.
Is my bias showing do you think the people who need the scholarships are also the people who didn't fill the survey out? And do you know what those numbers might look like?
You said the people who didn't fill the survey out?
I'm wondering if there's a correlation between the, 42% of people who didn't fill the survey out and the people who need a scholarship.
Yeah, because it's an opt-in survey. Chances are people who are excited are filling out the survey more than people who are not. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Thank you. You put it in research.
Yeah, that's why it'll be really important to like get, I think we said like our goal would maybe be like by the end of the year to send out some sort of follow-up. I don't know if we'd call it a survey, but like get that information about financial needs so we could have a more clear understanding of what the need would be. Because yeah, we're just extrapolating from this, which you're right. We'll probably want to like leave some room for not error, but just what we don't know yet. Yeah. Should I just read this? So 23% of our families need either a partial or full scholarship. 4,000 is needed to cover scholarships. This is, of course, just based on the people who filled out the survey. And then, so 26% of respondents said they could contribute additional funds beyond the base tuition. And this is something they did last year as far as helping to fill that gap. And so that's something to keep in mind. Collectively, 26% say they can contribute a total of $2,300 if needed. So of course, we don't want to have to rely on that, but that's good to know. That was good information. And of course, we got a bunch of people saying they'll help with fundraising, so that's good. And so barriers to participation is a big one. And I know, Erica, you're going to get a little bit more into this, right? So, but just to answer, these are the main things that came up as, you know, as far as concerns. So we attended, I think Erica and I and some of the other parents who are currently fifth grade parents attended like the info night last year when the rep Nick like gave the rundown and parents got to ask all these questions. And so the food one definitely, so these definitely came up. And so I can speak to that from like that memory. So it seemed to me like they were really good with accommodating kids with food allergies and dietary restrictions. Yeah, Erica, would you add anything to that? There was nothing where they were like, no, sorry, we can't do that.
Yeah, they seem to. So I can also add in that my older son has been to this camp. I do think they make a really pretty good effort to make sure everyone has something to eat. And then with that said, it is also like camp cafeteria food. So it's
Yeah.
not very fancy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then one of the reasons we really, you know, or I know Erica did a lot of footwork on like exploring the alternative options to Camp Campbell, and a lot of alternative options didn't offer a nurse. So going into the administration of medication, Camp Campbell has a nurse on site. And so that's a huge plus. I mean, so that hopefully can help with the concerns there for kids who have medication. Good supervision and solid organization of program, what I would say like from teacher feedback, that was like direct quote from like Mr. Kelly was like, he was impressed with that. It was like not chaos even at like eating time, you know? So that was, so I think we got the teachers to vouch for that. And then supports needed as outlined in IEP. Erica will get more into that, or do you want to do that now?
Yeah, I can get a little more into it after we go through all of this, but in theory, IEPs can be honored, but I'll talk about it a little more after this part of our meeting.
Right. And understandably, this last part about like, you know, several parents citing that like wanting a clear understanding of what to expect, you know, with the separation anxiety just related to it being, you know, 4 days away, 3 nights, 4 days away. And again, I think it will get more into that. Yeah. Okay. Additional comments and questions. Thanks for the survey. A parent or volunteer chaperone role would be nice for kids who are anxious. And I think that's something that will be maybe kind of there. And we'll get into. And as far as like what's the question of like why for this trip, the person who said this asked if it's like 5th grade promotion, is it part of STEM learning? I think, you know, the idea of like being an experiential program for learning is kind of the reason. And how can we keep in touch with kids during camp? I think is kind of like a tricky one, because I think like the point, or if you hear from like the camp and Nick, and when he does his like info night, he'll kind of get more into how they discourage keeping in touch with kids. Like the point is for them to be away, but for kids who might need like an accommodation or something like that, I think there's going to be things we can work out. Is that clear as mud? How's that sound? Good?
Yeah, and I can speak to that last one. So a little bit off the record, I did learn that there were kiddos this year who did need to be in touch with parents, and there were workarounds. It's a little bit off the record, but I am a person who will definitely see how I can support that. I think the problem that Nicholas has, he's the director of the camp. He can't say all kids can call home at the end of the day because that's just chaos. But I think there's ways we can make sure kids who really, really need that sort of support have it. And I think that maybe I saw feedback last year that parents just wanted pictures, and I wonder if we had like a Padlet or something that teachers could like post photos. That might be helpful too. And then yes, that's it. We'll keep going, and if people have questions, we'll answer them in a sec. Does that sound good?
Yeah, or please just interrupt us and ask questions.
Yes, or do that.
Yeah, this is helpful. Erica, you're the best for putting this together. So the odds and ends around just general understanding, like we do need 65 of the 85, I think is the number, kids to go. Like if more than that, if more than, let's say 20 opt out, I think it just wouldn't make sense financially. We wouldn't be able to swing it and to do it. But from the numbers of the survey, like the people who did say no, it was, I think I did the math and it was like 7%. So, which I don't know, what's 20 out of 85, someone who's good at math. It leaves us room if we extrapolate, but that's important. Like Megan, what you brought up, we have to kind of get a better understanding of the 100% of people. But I think we'll get there. They had enough interest last year with a lot less time and a lot less information, I think, for families. So I'm pretty confident we'll get there with the feedback we've gotten. So then just as far as like the fundraising, so we need to raise $3,500 to cover transportation and chaperone costs. And this is just kind of a lot of numbers, but we need to raise $4,000 to cover anticipated scholarship needs. And at the bottom there, you see like PTA can hopefully make up $4,500 as a contribution. So kind of the way the numbers work out and what we'll get into with the fundraising is we've already raised $1,700 because of, this amazing cash mob that happened last week. On like Peeps, which I'm not on. It was fun to learn about that. That added $1,000 to our already $700 raised, and just kind of was nice since we had to cancel that bake sale, right? And so so it kind of leaves us with this number like around like a $1,500 like minimum is what we're looking at raising in addition to what we've already raised, but we should probably cushion that, right? With, just because we don't have our final numbers yet. But so we're confident with a couple more like food sale type things, we'll be able to get there. Yeah.
All right, that was a lot of info. So before we go into why, a little bit more information about why Camp Campbell, our fundraising updates, and then also access and accommodation updates, does anyone have questions?
I do. Are parents gonna be allowed to go help chaperone?
Yeah, so Carmen, that is definitely something I'm talking to the camp about. I haven't reached out to Nick yet. That's the counselor, or sorry, the director. It's not a camp that parents chaperone at. The camp actually provides all of that, which is one of the reasons why this camp is desirable, because the kids are going to be able to do it no matter what, if there's parent volunteers or not. With that said, this is being recorded, but Carmen, I need to reach out to you anyways, because our kiddos have shown up on a list of like kiddos that might need some support.
Yeah.
So sorry,
That's what I was thinking about, because
this is
mine is.
Yeah, this is being recorded, so I don't want to. I'm gonna stop recording.
I got you. Hi, my question is if parents are gonna be able to volunteer as chaperones in that camp, and the other question is if that camp is just only for Maya Lin students or for students from all over the county or the world, or whatever.
So to the first question, we're working on it and it's a case by case situation. And then to the second question, last year, and Taryn, tell me if I'm wrong, I think that they shared the camp with 3 other schools. It's a huge camp. Like I've actually been up there. That's another thing when we get to the accommodation section, the camp will arrange a date, like a visit to any families or students who want that. So we can visit before the camp happens. And you can see the campus. It's very big. And so I actually think for them to be able to operate, they can't just do one school at a time. So it is like 3 or 4 schools. I think last year it was a school from San Jose somewhere, a private school, and then I don't know what the 4th school was, and Maya Lin.
I'm just remembering because you brought that up, Erica, the parent asked me this morning about last year who couldn't come tonight. And I couldn't remember, like, about COVID and if there was any COVID, not like the practices, but if anybody came home with COVID, and I don't know if that would be public information or not, but I don't think so, at least from our school. I don't think so.
No, I'm definitely someone who pays very close attention to that because Leo's high risk. And I didn't get any reports of COVID coming home from camp. Okay. It's mostly outdoors. It's a mostly outdoors camp. That doesn't mean anything for sleeping, but
Yeah.
Are there any other questions like that before we move on? We are going to talk about why Camp Campbell, more fundraising updates and more access and accommodation updates. But is there anything like with the survey results you have questions about, Anna?
I guess it's not survey results, but just a general question. Where is the camp again?
Santa Cruz Mountains.
Okay, that's really nice.
Mhm.
Oh, I guess when are the dates? In the early fall?
Yeah, good question, because we just reached out to get that confirmation. We haven't signed the contract yet, but we think we're getting our first choice, which was the time they did it this year, which is early fall, September 19th through the 22nd.
And so I guess thinking about that, in case there are like fires and really bad air quality in the area or any kind of risk, would it be possible to would they be flexible to move the dates?
That's a great question. I can follow up on that.
Just because California.
Yeah, definitely. I know they had been slow on getting the contracts out because of all the rain, right?
Mhm.
So speaking of that, I don't know how that affected their programming this time of year, but
I mean, hopefully, because we're getting all this rain, maybe it'll be nice and
yeah, lush.
lush. Exactly.
Yeah.
Taryn, can you say the dates again?
Yes, September 19th
Okay.
through the 22nd.
I have to okay, so just so you all know, we definitely had a few parents that said, please don't ask for the week of Rosh Hashanah. I think Rosh Hashanah starts on the 15th of September, but I'm double, if anyone.
I know we did the check, then it shouldn't be that week, but we can.
September 15th, it's the week before.
Yeah.
But please, somebody check our work.
Yeah, before we sign like a contract for sure. Yeah.
Because that was a very specific request.
Yeah.
Cool. Shall we move on, or does anyone else have questions right now? All right. Taryn, do you want to talk a little bit more about why Camp Campbell? Because that definitely was a question that came up the last meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had people definitely reach out after the meeting.
Right. I mean, certainly where it came from was it was a camp used last year. And I think that's what we answered last time, right? And then being able to have this survey kind of reiterate that okay, a good amount of families are on board with this style of camp, meaning just this camp in general, that's helpful. But otherwise, I think we meant, okay, so I mentioned the nurse, that was a big plus as far as the information that Erica was able to gather around the way they do handle accommodations. I think that was part of it as well. The idea, I don't know, I know we're being recorded, but the idea of a day option, again, for those who kind of need that accommodation, that's an option, so for some students who maybe really can't spend the night, but want to just go for that first day, we think that could be a really good way to be inclusive, and that's something the camp offers. what am I missing? Yeah, hopefully that answers why.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that we don't hit is that we have had a few people say, can it just not be so long? Besides doing like a one night overnight at a science museum, all the camps are 2 to 3 nights long. And with that, so knowing that and that the teachers strongly recommend this one, it didn't seem worth it to kind of take a chance on another camp that's only 2 nights, you know, because we just couldn't find, or I should say, when I say we, I did a lot of research. I couldn't find a place that was just like a one night camp. Those were definitely more just like we can go spend the night at Chabot Science Center for a night, or Monterey Bay Aquarium, or I do think we can do like a night at Angel Island, but those just don't seem to have the same infrastructure that Camp Campbell has. And you can look at Camp Campbell's handbook online. Like they're required, they say in it, like they're required to meet ADA, you know, by law, they have to meet ADA requirements. And I just think the teachers really appreciate that it's a full program that they get to just bring their kids to. So,
and this is probably a good place to like add that the idea about for kids who really just decide not, or families who decide not to send their child, Erica had a great idea and or is talking with Mr. Gerhards maybe about being able to coordinate like the 4th grade field trip next year to be the same week. And so the kids that would otherwise stay back and be in the 4-5, right, could maybe go to Chabot or wherever they go for like a science themed field trip during that same time, which was such a great idea.
yeah, so the hope is that kids who can't do sleepaway camps for whatever reason, they can opt into, they don't have to do this, but they could come up to Camp Campbell for a day, and then they can go to Chabot Science Center that week too, or something like that. And the 4th grade teacher I've spoken to is really into it. Lisa Aftergut is really into it. So it would require some coordination, but to like just make sure the 4th graders have an outdoor science type experience that same week would also be inclusive. Yeah. Any questions about why Camp Campbell? Because it's a really important question. No? Okay. I'm going to keep moving because I like doing meetings that end on time. Updates on access accommodations. I feel like I've talked about it already, but basically the camp is required now. Those of you who have kids with IEPs know what's required is not always what actually happens, but the camp is required to honor accommodation needs as outlined in IEPs and 504s, and the school is supposed to like provide that. So I'll go ahead and share our story because Leo is very visible and it's hard to like not know that he has a wheelchair. So Leo has a one-to-one aide in his IEP. So because of that, he's actually supposed to get a one-to-one aide at the camp. And that's where if you are a parent with a kid with an IEP or a 504 plan, or even just accommodations, you really need to come forward and like let Lise Aftergut know, who's the resource teacher at Maya Lin, or me, like if you feel like you need a parent like advocate or partner, so that we can make sure that those things are brought forward before September. And then we can reach out to Nicholas at Camp Campbell and make sure, you know, that we have things squared away. They do have language. It's pretty, I don't think it's so coded like that essentially there might be reasons why the camp can't accommodate all kids, but I feel like we're ahead enough in the ball that we can make sure that doesn't happen. And then like Taryn already brought out, there's a day camp option for kids who need to be day campers. But it requires a lot of pre-planning. So if you have a kiddo, and I'm just going to name reasons that kids might need access accommodation. So like medication, you know, helping administering medication, ADHD, anxiety, you know, my kid needs just like straight up physical assistance, things like that. Like, please reach out to me, ericahartono@gmail.com, and I'll help get you connected to Lise Aftergut, or just reach out to Lise Aftergut. She is our resource teacher at Maya Lin. Does anyone have questions about that? About accommodations? No.
I do.
Yes, go Carmen.
So if the kids are only doing one day, let's say that they do one day, are we parents are in charge of taking them and bringing them, or is the school gonna provide transportation too? So
I think that's what we have to figure out ahead of time, because we have to get round trip buses twice, right? That's just the way it works. So we need to do a round trip bus on the first day and a round trip bus on the last day. So I think if we need to put kids on the round trip bus back, I don't see why we can't do that, right? Because we've paid for a round trip bus anyways. But I do think we need to like make sure we know that way ahead of time. Yeah. And then if that's not possible for some reason, then maybe we do have to arrange parent drivers, which might be nice for people who want to help out and help their kid feel more comfortable. But I think that Carmen's like, I'll drive my kid. So, any other questions like that? All right, let's go to our fundraising update. I think this is the fun part. I like fundraising.
It's fun now because it's less intimidating, at least for me. Yeah, so okay, so fundraising. I kind of mentioned already, we were able to get some more money for the cash mob. That was great. It was just under 1,000, I think. We weren't able to do our
It's up to 1,100 now.
It's still going. All right.
So what Taryn's talking about is we we had a GoFundMe, but we had to put it on pause. But so now we have a GoFundMe, and it is out in the world, and Alameda Peeps blasted it out and did a cash mob for us. And we've raised about 1,100, mostly through Alameda Peeps. And then also Maya Lin parents have started donating money in there. So that's very exciting.
Very exciting. Yeah. And our old one had raised 700. So we're gaining. I love it. So yeah. So so last time we kind of like brainstormed a bunch of great ideas. And now trying to whittle that down and identify a few key events that are already happening that we can just add ourselves onto and make some money selling pizza or something like that is the plan. So those identified events at this time I'll start with the one that's coming up first, which is the science night. My first graders teacher just sent out an email about it yesterday, I think. So I don't know if everyone's aware, but on April 27th, the school's going to do like a science artist makers night. And so if we can get a couple parents to volunteer to buy some pizza and a couple parents to volunteer to sell it, we'll probably make some good money there, because we'll probably get a good contingent of families who are hungry. Not sure what time it is yet. I don't know if Erica, if you had that, I think you said it might be after school versus at night, but regardless, I think they'll be hungry.
Is it for everybody or just first grade?
I think it's the whole school.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I volunteer. I can sell.
Awesome.
And it's short. It's like a 90-minute event. So we might want to talk about like starting our food sale before the event begins. Because that's one concern. So the teachers came to us with this idea, which is very sweet, that people are thinking about like, when can we help the science camp kids make money? So they came to us, and their only concern is they don't want people eating pizza all over the projects. So, so I was like, well, we can just try to encourage people to eat outside. And so maybe we set up a little ahead of the event and then like stick around a little after the event.
Yeah.
Erica.
Yes.
Erica, Sammy wants to ask you something.
Yes, Sammy.
No. Where's Leo? He's like, where's my buddy? Where's Leo?
Oh, Leo's eating dinner, Sammy. Hi, Sammy.
I'm not sure there's anything more to go over about that outside of literally just getting people to volunteer to do it. Megan, you're on mute, but go ahead. Yeah.
Just raising my hand to purchase and sell pizza.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I can help out too.
Love it. Okay, I'm holding you all to that.
Yeah, say it. I'm like writing it down. I've got Megan. Who was that other person?
Anna.
Oh, Anna. Okay. Sorry, I can't see you all because I'm typing.
Okay.
Yay. Thank you.
Yeah, so we have a little over a month, about a month and a half for that. So we'll reach out to you all to help coordinate that. The next thing on the calendar would be the Alameda Music Project, similar kind of food sale there for their concert. that Megan already had raised her hand for, offering to help with. So thank you. So if you have anything you wanted to add or thoughts you had about it, I don't know if you did it last year, because I know they did this last year as a fundraiser. But basically, if you're not familiar, the after school program has their concert at the end of the year. And so we get a good number of families that go to that and can make some money just selling some dinner food.
What's the date on that? Do you know?
I don't have the date. If I don't have a kid in that program, does anybody here happen to know? We'll follow up to get that
I
date.
can look it up. Or try to. For the holidays, there were at least 3 events, so it might not just be one. There's a sound lab that does some, digital music, and then there's the littles have a night and the olders have a night too. So it might be a series of sales. Let me see if I can find anything on it.
But same idea with that, right? Just, either getting people to volunteer to bake stuff, pick up food, and sale.
Pizza is always great for that too, in addition to baked goods, because it's, usually starts at 6:30, and some families are dinner's a,
Yeah.
moving target.
Anybody want to just add their name to that already, just to kind of hop on that train a little early? Where are we? April, May? We're probably about 2.5 months out for that. So we'll get names if no.
Yeah, it just depends on the timing, because I have like a work trip coming up at that end of May. So
Understandably, you don't want to like just blindly sign up for it. We'll get the date. Thank you.
I'm happy to help out with the AMP. I'll be there anyways, supporting Lisette and the rest of the kids. So happy to help.
Great. Yeah, so then the other, can I just keep going? We're doing good with time, right? So the last thing is the movie night, pajama night thing we did that seemed like both chaotic but also very successful for the DACA kids in raising money. We are thinking we will partner with them in making it happen again. Partnering in the sense of like 50-50, like we'll add some parents so it'll be less chaotic than what we heard it was. Although my kids said they had a great time. I'm sure it was, I feel for Maria, who was there as one of the parents who helped. So yeah, we want to add some parents to it, but let the DACA kids still, participate as far as, I think they handled food, and we'd want them to continue to handle food this time. But we would do the sales and things like that. So similarly, getting some volunteers for that. And I think that would probably bring in a good chunk of money as well.
Can I have a suggestion on that? To train them really well, because my son had a very, very bad anxiety living. So my husband had to bring him back home. But nobody knew that he left. We signed him in, but nobody knew that he left.
Yes.
So
That's the part that I think we just need more parents.
Yes. And so my husband was kind of like,
yeah,
this could have been anybody's kid. And, so I think that a little bit more of talking with them and letting them know that, we have to be a little bit more careful with kids. So that was my input right there.
Thank you for that. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Carmen. Before Taryn and I brainstormed, they just needed more parents on the scene in general. So that's basically what will be those parents on the scene. Taryn, I will definitely help with infrastructure for movie night. And I can be a person who bosses the kids around if necessary, but I can definitely help with like the ticket sales and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
I worry about kind of raining on their parade and taking away their funds. I wonder if there's, in terms of dividing it up, can they do pizza and we do popcorn, or I don't know. Like, how would that work, half and half?
I'll check in with them. I haven't actually even reached out to them yet. I kind of see it like it could be a partnership where maybe science camp families and DACA kids always work together and do it maybe 3 times of the year. You know what I mean? Because they easily raise $2,000 easily. So
And they didn't have seconds, so people would have potentially, well, no,
I
you
mean,
only paid a
it's a
flat fee,
flat,
right?
it's a
So
flat fee. Yeah. So I will talk to them, but Megan, thank you, because we do want to be thoughtful and sensitive. We don't want to be like, you guys did something really good and now we're taking it. Now it belongs to us. But I mean, the truth of the matter is it is a partnership. We're the ones providing the space. We provided the infrastructures. We did all the advertising. We also provided the clientele, so I
And we're
think
gonna provide this mentorship that like is necessary, or else we probably wouldn't do it again, right?
yeah, that's true. Provide some mentorship and just more like deliberate partnership with their advisor, who happens to be a fourth grade parent at Maya Lin. So hopefully it feels symbiotic and not like we're taking their thing. But Megan, I will check directly in with the leader to make sure that we're not being rude.
And I think we have a date for that, right? June 2nd?
Yeah.
Is that hard? Yeah,
That's our
so-
tentative date.
Yeah, tentative, okay. So June 2nd, save the date. So yeah, with that, that kind of brings us to the end of the year, and we can, by that time, hopefully get some more information from families, get that solid number about how much, we're gonna need to have raised by basically the beginning of the school year, because we're looking at the date being like a month after school starts. It would be ideal to have all the money raised by the end of the year. I know we talked about open house fundraising next year, like at the beginning of the year, but we're hopeful that maybe by that time that can just kind of laying the foundation for that to be kind of the first fundraiser for the next, round of the next year, not for our kids, right? So I think that's it. Did I cover it, Erica?
Yeah, I think so. Does anyone have questions though? Like Megan and Carmen's questions and comments, all really helpful. Like what did we miss?
Are there any other dates available though for the camp?
Yes, we had to list up to 10 dates that would work. And did our best, as far as not being on high holidays and checking with principal for testing schedules and things like that. So we it ranged from picking like the first few in the fall, because we got the feedback was really good about the weather and things like that. And then the last, I think the last 4 dates we gave were in the like May time.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they assign us to the date. Like so we submit our requests and then they assign it to us. Yeah, comments, questions, concerns.
if we have these 3 options for bake sales and whatever, I mean, potentially we can raise enough money. Are there other events that are happening? Or do we just not want to bombard everybody with always selling pizza and baked goods at every school event for the science fair?
I mean, I think the only other one that you actually helped bring up, Megan, was the art one, the art fair, or sorry, the art fest, but it's the same week as the science fair. And so it makes to me, it makes more sense to do it at the science fair.
Keep the art fest separate for art.
Yeah. And also it's just less work for us parents. I think we're going to hit the goal. Oh, and one thing Taryn didn't say is that once we sort of hit our financial aid need and then bus transportation, then we can start like slowly taking off the cost for everybody,
Like if we raise $3,000 extra, we can get it down to like $350 a parent, right? So that would be nice.
Yeah.
For a family.
But and Megan is on our PTA exec board. I've been like looking at the numbers, and if we essentially continue the PTA contribution that we have, the PTA covers financial aid, right? And the PTA covers the chaperone costs. And so what we're really fundraising for is transportation. And then obviously if we need more financial aid, and then also, I feel like this is a little bit off. The 5th grade has a field trip budget as well. So there's also that. But I don't think we're really supposed to touch it for science camp, but it's there.
Is that something we could ask the teachers about? Like if we need to touch it, or do they do separate field trips? Is that the idea?
I'm gonna let Megan answer. I feel like Megan would know more than me, actually.
I've been on the PTA, but all field trips were canceled during COVID, so I really don't have a whole lot of experience. I would imagine they would want additional field trip funding for something potentially as a, not everybody's going to be able to go to science camp. There's some places that other people go to. I don't know.
Maybe it's like, we know it's there should things go really south. But I think we're gonna hit our goal. Honestly, if we wanted to be like really aggressive, I think we could hit it with the GoFundMe alone.
I do too.
It's like if every Maya Lin family donated $10 to the GoFundMe, we would hit our goal. That's $3,500. I just don't know how aggressive we want to be.
In case we don't hit our goal by the end of the year, we could potentially also do something in the beginning of next year. So people have a break over the summer, and then we can sell them cookies again. First day.
Well, that's a weird thing with the back to school night, right, Taryn? That gives us one extra, like, just in case we don't hit the goal, we have back to school night too. That's in August.
Yeah, I might have said open house, but yeah, back to school night. Yeah.
Tina wrote, I think it's best to bombard with treats and pizza at Maya Lin events. Kids look forward to it, and it can be helpful for parents that didn't have enough time to feed their kids and themselves. Yeah. It's a little bit like the DACA kids, honestly. I was also telling Taryn, I like fundraisers that provide a service. Here's some food. Here's some babysitting.
Does anybody know who has done this before and how much pizza they purchase? And do you just get cheese, and do people eat pepperoni? And is there any accommodations made for dairy allergies and things like that? I know I'm getting into the weeds.
No, I mean, I have a rough estimate from our last from the Astro Night. There was a lot of lessons learned there. We still have so much hot cocoa, by the way, that we need to sell. So I can give you that information, Megan, for sure. And it does sound like it's nice and thoughtful for us to offer up a gluten-free option if we're only going to do pizza.
But gluten as opposed to, and no, dairy's fine.
Oh yeah, I mean, so sorry. Gluten-free, vegetarian, dairy-free. Like, that's like the thoughtful thing to do, is to make sure we have something that hits those things. It's 6:51.
We did it.
Questions, comments, concerns? Taryn, you want to drop your email in the chat?
Mhm.
But I think it's taryn.propersi@gmail.com. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
And then I'm Erica Hartono, ERICAHARTONO @gmail.com. Please reach out to us. I kind of request that you reach out to Taryn first.
Yes, don't reach out to Erica. I mean, do if you want.
But if it's something confidential and private around accommodation needs, please feel free to reach out to me. I can honor that privacy, or get you directly in touch with Lise Aftergut, our resource teacher at Maya Lin.
Thank you.
Happy belated birthday, Miosuri.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. I add like such a French. I'm like, Moya soir. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook. Bart, you're not off the hook with Dine and Donate, by the way, because that's definitely something Maya Lin just needs. And so if you're interested and you want to do the homework, we can definitely always do Dine and Donates for Maya Lin in general.
Well, I'm happy to be given a second chance, so I will take you up on that, and I'll do my homework.
Cool.
So I have a quick question. It's just not clear to me. So if you have parents who are not able to volunteer, how can a parent donate to the scholarship fund?
That's an excellent question. You can donate right to the GoFundMe, and I'm going to drop it into the
Okay.
chat box right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
They'll always take your money. The the Dine and Donate often works really nice with the books ink nights that they do too. I don't know if Miss Moore's publishing any more books, but she had a reading there. Sometimes those are nice to kind of coordinate together. Do we have any other authors in the community?
Chipotle is pretty good too, though.
Yeah. Oh, are they for the
Yes, for
Dine and
the
Donate?
dine and donate. Yeah, Chipotle is pretty good. We used to do that for Encinal. So just,
Yeah, for when I get to asking some of these restaurants questions about it, what would be the program that the funds would be routed through? Would that, do we know, or is that part of what we have to do?
Usually they'll just ask for our nonprofit number, the PTA.
So it'd go through the PTA.
Yeah, which is probably why it's better for it to be a general fundraiser anyways. But I've arranged them before. Mostly you call around, you ask if they do dine and donates, you see when they have dates available, you snag them, you give them our nonprofit info, and they just cut us like 10% or 20% or something like that. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah. But it does take legwork, so I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, sure thing.
Tomatino's another one that is happy to do it usually. All right, I'm going to stop recording because people who are watching this are probably like, okay, now it's just a Zoom screen with people staring at each other. So thank you for tuning in. I'm going to turn this off. And thank you, everybody. No more questions?
Right.
All right.